As for what I was told in the home behind closed doors when I was growing up, that's not the most fun trip down memory lane, but I always like to be honest about acknowledging anti-blackness among Asian Americans, especially when the call was coming from my own house, so here we go. I first became aware of my mom's anti-blackness when I started kindergarten, and it mostly centered around avoiding interactions with black people and not allowing me to be exposed to anything that she considered black culture. So if we were walking and she saw a black person, she would pull me closer to her. If we were in the car in a parking lot and saw a black person in the parking lot, she would make a point to lock the doors, and I wasn't allowed to listen to rap or Michael Jackson or Tina Turner. And she was hypocritical about that, because I wasn't allowed to listen to Cyndi Lauper or Madonna either. She would call it trash music and say that it was going to be a bad influence. But if it was a white artist, it was not racialized. It was only when it was black artists that it was racialized. And another thing that I think is kind of typical is, as a musician, there were a lot of black artists whom she respected and enjoyed, but she would always say that one black artist is the exception, the rest are bad influences. When I went to school, if I came home and said I made a friend, her first question would be white or black. And that drove me nuts, because in preschool, I dealt with a lot of bullying and discrimination because of being Asian, so it didn't make sense to me that she wanted me to turn around and do that very same thing to my black classmates, whom she knew nothing about, on the basis of their skin color. And when I wouldn't stay away from my black friends, she would resort to making up justifications as to why it was harmful for me. She would say they're going to hurt me and they're going to be a bad influence because they fight and they swear and they're not good students. And of course, none of that was true. And in my household, it was not physically or emotionally safe to voice your opinions, but about that I would, because it literally angered me. And then she would resort to physical violence. And that sealed the deal in my mind that prejudice is purely irrational, because none of her claims had any basis in reality, and that's why she had to resort to physical force. Unfortunately, I think that when parents resort to intimidation and violence to instill prejudice in their children, a lot of times it works. But I was very lucky, because the principal of my elementary school was a black woman who implemented a program called Students Educating Each Other About Discrimination. And that wasn't centered on racial discrimination, it was about discrimination in general. But in that program, we learned to have discussions about discrimination and to identify it and disrupt it. Which at that age just means if you witness discrimination, say it's discrimination and articulate how you know that it's discrimination. So from learning that very powerful tool at school, I was able to identify that what my mom was doing at home was wrong. Additionally, the principal was a black woman, so I had a black woman in a position of leadership as a role model. And in my school district, she wasn't a token. They really valued black leadership, from teachers to administration, guidance counselors, all the way up to superintendents. And so I was surrounded by black role models who made me see that reality did not line up with what my mom was trying to teach me. The straw that broke the camel's back was sometime around the ages of between 7 and 9. I was planning a birthday party, and I told my mom that I want to invite my friend Keisha, which I knew was going to be an issue, but I thought I would try. And she said no, and I said, fine, then I don't want to have a birthday party, and she made me have the birthday party. So now that felt like that's not only cruel to me, but that's cruel to my friend Keisha, whom you don't even know because you refused to meet her. Shortly after that, we were walking in the mall, and my mom did this thing that she often did, which is she sees black people minding their own business, and under her breath, she mumbles a derogatory term in Chinese for black people. And I remember I pulled back on her hand and faced her, and I said, they are not doing anything. You don't know them. The next time you do that, I am going to go up to them, and I'm going to tell them what you said. And believe it or not, the fear of exposure by me actually made her tone it down, and she stopped doing that in public. Fortunately, my mom did not live and die that way. In later years, she came around to seeing and later openly admitting how wrong she was. In her older age, one of her best friends really was black, and my mom admitted to her friend what her previous attitudes had been and why. And from those conversations, I was able to gain some insight as to what my mom's motivation was for her anti-blackness. Because I think most people feel, since Asian Americans also are harmed by white supremacy, how does it make any sense for Asian Americans to be anti-black? My mom spent most of her young life in Hong Kong when it was under British occupation, and then in the 1950s, she came to the United States when she was 16 years old. Generations before my mom, her family had been living in and doing business around Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Macau, which were French, British, and Portuguese occupied areas. So she was heavily indoctrinated into anti-blackness in Hong Kong, where she had no exposure to Black people that would have shown her a different reality. And furthermore, what she was indoctrinated into is the idea that an Asian can elevate their status in white spaces by aligning with white supremacy, which includes aligning with anti-Blackness. So I think what my mom was doing with me is that from a young age, she saw that I was having a hard time as an Asian American assimilating. So she felt that if I associated with Black classmates, that would make assimilating into white spaces even harder. And she was concerned that associating with Black classmates would negatively impact my status in white spaces. Well, we all know with me that the outcome was I understand very clearly what spaces I want to be part of and what spaces I don't. So my mom was really proud that she was westernized. She was proud that she spoke English without an accent, that she was very well versed in European culture, and she actually looked down upon my dad for being what she called traditional and therefore backwards. Right, so where was my dad in all of this? My dad grew up in Taiwan, where he had no exposure to Black people, but he also had very little exposure to Western media. I think when he came to the United States, he was a bit uncertain around Black people because of the lack of familiarity and the slight media bias, but it only took a very little being around Black people to see that prejudice is irrational and that it serves a white supremacist agenda that he doesn't want to uphold. As I said before, in my household, it wasn't physically or emotionally safe to voice opinions that differed from my mom, so I do understand why my dad didn't speak up when my mom was being anti-Black. He had a hard enough time keeping my brother and I safe. However, what he would do is when it was just my dad and I, he would make sure to teach me or give me resources about accurate Black history. So, for example, a lot of my mom's rhetoric surrounded musicians. So my dad would teach me about Berry Gordy, Chuck Berry, Marian Anderson, Jesse Norman. If the claim was that Black people don't value education, he would tell me about Black scholars, academics, and scientists, and so on. So that, in a nutshell, is what I was told at home behind closed doors when I was growing up.
So guys, I hope you have watched and listened to that video from an Asian woman coming out and split the beans, coming out and telling us the truth, exactly how Black people, they are being treated in Western countries. And also guys, as I was watching that video, I came across a certain comment from a Black person. He has come out and wrote this comment. This is even experienced in Europe too, everywhere, just as she is saying it. Others from Asia and Arabs are doing the same here to Blacks. We experience that in stores, hospital, public transport, workplace, and etc. Thank God someone like her coming to expose the hatred propaganda against Black people in the USA and Europe and Asia with the Arab countries. So that it is a comment from a Black person. And also guys, before putting my commentary, I want you to continue watching this other compilation of video from Asian people coming out and speaking the truth. So kindly guys, watch this till the end, then I'll be back with more comment. I'm your host, Dash Lifestyle.
This couldn't be farther from the truth. In fact, our greatest allies have been the Black community. Black and Asian solidarity has a long, long history. And that's not to erase the examples from both sides of intolerance, hate, and violence. But at our best, we have long fought alongside each other, such as Frederick Douglass advocating for Chinese and Japanese immigration in 1869. Or when Henry Turner and Ida B. Wells spoke out on behalf of Filipino freedom fighters. Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, and many Black protesters condemning the violence and war in Vietnam. Japanese Americans fighting alongside the Black community to repeal the Emergency Detention Act. The powerful relationship between Yuri Kochiyama and Malcolm X. Grace Lee Boggs and her husband James Boggs. Jesse Jackson, the NAACP for Vincent Chin. And the majority of Asian Americans who...
Question. This actually is a serious question. Why don't you like us Black people? Non-American Asians always gave me the cold shoulder. American Asians were cool and I often hang out with them. Are they just not used to us?
Partially.
Sad to say, but I know that there's anti-Blackness very much so in a lot of Asian American communities. And obviously, unfortunately, anti-blackness is global. And I think like in
It's a very long historical answer.
yeah,
Some of it has to do with not being used to it. Okay, so colonization happened throughout the whole world when white colonizers took over Asia, Africa, all the other continents. And with that came the belief of anti-blackness that was instilled upon all of these communities. Now, once those colonizations ended, you were left with this homogenized community where they don't know anyone who don't look like they're all white, all Asian, all South Asian, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden, you fast forward to having technology and Western media, because again, controlled by whiteness, is pushing out this message of that Black communities are gangsters, do this, they do that. And then that media gets pushed out into the world in the form of movies and TV shows. And now you take this homogenized community who has learned anti-blackness through colonization and stuff like that, on top of the fact that it's then mixed with people who are learning about these races for the first time through fictionalized television that is controlled by white media. And then you have this biased look. So when they meet Black people for the first time, they're having to reconcile what they have been essentially brainwashed into thinking versus then trying to figure out what that means when they meet you and they're like, but you're not any of these things, which is the reason why you get a lot of people from Asia who are having to go through that discovery, and Asian Americans who grew up with that and know that those are things that are essentially propaganda, mind washing, to keep upholding this idea of, and instead of using the WS word, I'm going to say anti-blackness, because one is,
hand in hand, and they push this anti-blackness, then it's basically global propaganda. So then people are trying to, come to those terms. And instead of just being hateful, they may just not understand. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's like the short end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing to contribute. That was very concise. A lot of people are just conditioned to believe that Black people are whatever the conditioner wants you to believe they are.
Yep.
And, like my grandma, the only Black people she had ever seen were American soldiers in Korea. And to her, they were all part of the same group. And then when she came to America, all she knew about Black people was, like you said, what she had seen on TV, what people had told her. And so she was very distrusting of Black people. And I was like, how many Black people are just like everybody else? Like, I go to school with Black kids, like, and she was just like, oh no, they're very dangerous. I'm like, they're not. This is just what people wanted you to believe. But, what else did she know? You know what I mean? She's just this like, country girl from, uneducated, and is told by everybody in power what to believe. My God is better. My people are better. My guns are better. So she's like, okay, well, all of these things are better. So I better side with the better side.
Actually, a lot of Black people you'll talk to say they prefer the racism in China over back in the States. They perceive it to be differently because here they see it more as ignorance, whereas in the States it's more like hate. Like people actually hate you and like want to kill you or threaten you violently. But in China, it's more like, it's just different. It doesn't seem like they hate you. Especially when I speak Chinese, I can go almost anywhere and talk to people, at least in the places I've been so far. And people will kind of accept me, I guess. I don't know how else to explain that, but they won't be like, oh, get out of my store. They won't follow me around in the store and see if I'm trying to steal something. They won't be rude to me. Now, that's not the case for all Black people. Again, I'm the Obama Black, I guess, that Chinese people are more comfortable with. So when you have kind of darker skinned Black people, their experiences are much.
Americans, why y'all don't like us for real?
All right, important question, so I'm going to try to answer it. But not in the way you might think. Because what I'm not going to do is try to answer or justify away anti-Blackness that does exist in the Asian American community. And with what I'm about to say next, I'm not trying to be like, well, but what about you guys? I do want to gently push back against the comment that the Black community rocks with the Asian American community. Because if we're keeping it a buck, the animosity doesn't just go in one direction, it goes both ways. And that's what I want to address. And the way I'm going to do that is by giving context on my community. The Asian American community is made up of people from dozens of different countries that speak dozens of different languages, have different religious beliefs, and believe it or not, the hatred that exists within our community against one another is much stronger. And why is that? Well, maybe because we've been at war with each other for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Now, here's some more context. The majority of our community is first or 1.5 generation immigrants. Why is that important? That means that English is not their first language. American culture is not what they understand, nor do they have a strong grasp or understanding of American history. Now, for many of us who were born here and grew up here, we know about systemic racism. We have seen and experienced firsthand how harmful racism is. And we're taught about the civil rights movement. Granted, it was a whitewashed version, and I didn't actually learn about Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, Yuri Kochiyama, Grace Lee Boggs until I actively sought out that information myself. But that being said, I want to talk about Yuri Kochiyama. A lot of people don't know how close Malcolm X and Yuri Kochiyama were. In fact, in Spike Lee's adaptation of Malcolm X's life, he actually excludes the fact that Malcolm died in Yuri Kochiyama's arms. What's also not taught is the murder of Vincent Chin, and how his story doesn't become a national story if Reverend Jesse Jackson doesn't fly up to Detroit and demand that it becomes a national story. But people also don't know about leaders like Kathy Masayoka, who has been going to Congress year after year to testify using the reparations given to Japanese Americans after internment as justification for why the Black community and Black people deserve reparations too. So how do we fix this? I strongly believe that a lot of this is miscommunication, at least misunderstanding, and that has caused a lot of the pain that exists within our communities. So having dialogue like this, building real relationships in real life, coming together and partnering and actively working to understand one another better, sharing resources and opportunities, showing up for one another, and welcoming one another into our homes. Look, I'm not here to deny that individual Asian Americans have caused a lot of harm towards the Black community. Nor am I going to blame the entire Black community for the harm that individuals that are in the Black community have caused towards the Asian American community. But what I am calling for is for us to actively seek to understand each other and work together. Because together we are so powerful, and there's so much love that already exists. I hope this helps.
Let me get this clear. This woman right here, this individual does not represent the Asian community. Her POC card is revoked. She is not a person of color anymore. White people, you can have her. The reason why I'm saying this is because I'm sick and tired of seeing my Asian people in the comments talking about, I apologize on her behalf. I apologize for her behavior. Oh my God, I am so ashamed of being Asian. Shut the f*** up. You shouldn't apologize for someone else, bro. Real shit. Like, she is not even part of our community, so don't even. Why would we let this woman represent our community when she's making us look bad? No, she is not Asian, period. Another thing I want to say is that two wrongs do not make a right. Just because you've seen this one Asian, I put the quotation marks around the Asian because she's not Asian in my book. Just because you've seen this one Asian lady be racist does not mean you should be racist to all Asian people. This one Asian lady should not represent the Asian community as a whole. That's ridiculous. Do not respond in racism towards Asian people as a whole, bro. You're coming for me who's not racist. You're coming for everybody who's not racist. Every Asian that's not racist. It doesn't make any sense. Like, if you see the comments of this video, you see everybody moving like New York drill rappers if they were racist. They're talking about every Asian shot, every Asian dead, smoking on all Asians. I'm on BT with every Asian. Stop Asian hate, more like go Asian hate. Fuck all the Asians. Like, relax, please. She is not Asian. She does not represent our community, please. Another point I want to make is that Asian people and Black people should not go against each other. We are both minorities in America. If anything, we should reunite and fight against the system, the unfair system. Tension between the Asian community and the Black community has been here for a very long time. You can clearly see this in the 1992 LA riots. But this is what the media wanted. This is what the government wanted. They want minorities to go against each other. So we should change that and join forces. Like, what are we doing? Imagine how powerful we will be. Like, look at Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. We should be like these. We should be like them. Like, look at Blasian people, bro. A lot of them love saying I'm Blasian every 5 seconds. They love saying I'm Blasian every sentence that they make. But you know why they do that? It's because they're very proud of being both Black and Asian. They united. That's a terrible fucking point. That's a bad example. But I think you get what I mean. I think you get what I mean. So the moral of the story is that we should stop racism. Stop. And as minorities in America, we should all unite.
The Asian community is literally so anti-black, and it literally fucking pisses me off. Like, we are literally so uneducated, uninformed, just misinformed, everything about the black community, and it pisses me off. And like, it just boggles my mind how a lot of Asians see black people as beneath them. I shit you not, I literally saw someone on my story and I literally was so gagged. Like, I was like, are you serious right now? And I sent him a message, ask him if he's being serious about this. This guy is Bhutanese. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but like, I guess he got like some kind of spray tan or whatever because he's doing some kind of stupid movie shoot or whatever. Roy posts on his story and says, because his skin is like 10 shades darker or something, he said, "Can I say the N-word now?" with a ninja emoji next to it. I slid up so fucking quick and I asked this man, are you fucking serious right now? And guess what? That man left me on red. Need I say again that he is not black? He is Bhutanese from Bhutan or whatever the fuck you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Quite honestly, like, the Asian community is literally so underhandedly racist to the black community, and it just, like, not to mention the black community is one of the most supportive of marginalized groups that has ever, like, uplifted the Asian community and actually put effort into supporting us. I'm probably gonna piss a lot of Asians off for saying that, but it's literally the truth, and I fucking see it for.
I woke up out of my sleep because this needed to be said. Asians want to be black adjacent with white privilege. And just that thought alone, which is a very true thought, is kind of sickening because, again, I'll never stop speaking on it. They emulate black culture, black aesthetics, everything so heavily in the means of joking or because it's wacky. You know, white people try to say that all the time back in the day. Oh, black people do this wacky, funky stuff. And then hoopla, hoopla, they try to switch it to something else. They try to give it a different name. But it's sad because, again, Asian people know what it's like to experience racism, especially from white people, and to be oppressed by white people. However, they get that bit of what they feel is an amenity and they turn it towards black people. They want to be black adjacent with white privilege. And that's just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You ask for me? Hi, sweetie. Hi, for you.
I hate this so much. Yes, Chinese people can be racist too. They are human beings. God, we can suck.
Guys, Africa is fighting again because I said that Nigeria is my favorite country in Africa. And under that video in the comment section, each comment has like hundreds of responses of Africans going at it with each other. And let me tell you something about Africans. They do not mince their words. I know a lot of you think that I'm just a dumb influencer, which I am, but I learn. And I learned from the last time that I tried to defend Nigeria from all of Africa for releasing their beautiful Korean-inspired movie, My Sunshine, which is available on YouTube for free to stream for yourself. And when I tried to intervene, all of Africa, including the Nigerians, came after me. They were like, Chris, you stay out of it. This is a family matter. And I was like, oh, okay. But I do have to say, like, as someone who is not all that sensitive, the words that you share do cut a little deep for me. You know, the words you share are quite sharp. If Americans talk to each other like that, they would cry themselves to sleep and take a mental health break. I do think all the other continents can learn something from Africa. Despite all their squabbles among themselves, they still come together to defend each other. And I wish we could see more of that in other continents. Look at Europe. The more I learn about Europe, the more shocked I am that you guys even managed to form the European Union in the first place. Because I don't even know if you guys like each other. And actually, given that one of you left, maybe you don't. And I have long given up on my dreams of seeing the 3 East Asian countries, Japan, China, and Korea, get along with each other because that will never happen. That will never happen in our lifetime. Go after China and Japan and Korea will be the first to step in. You go after Korea, then China and Japan will be the first to step in. And you go after Japan and China and Korea will be the first to step in. And that one we can understand, right? You understand, right? Japan? わかってるよね. What I have come to realize is that this triangle of hate that exists between these three countries is actually what brings unity to these three countries. Because while we hate each other, we also love each other for hating each other. So in order to maintain peace among these three countries, we must continue this ongoing hate. Korea, kimchi, it's Chinese. China, it's Lunar New Year, not Chinese New Year. Japan,
as a Korean girl, like dating a black guy, what would you say you've learned so far from the foreign culture or the black community culture?
There's definitely a difference in race for sure, because he always says that it's a black thing, but I don't know. And he said, I'm black, like black people don't swim, we're not in the water a lot. He doesn't like the water, but I am an island girl, like I love swimming. And then he also like always says when I want to go out in the summer, he's like, oh, I'm black, like black people don't like being in the sun. Or when it's cold, like he's like, oh, like I'm black, like we don't like being out when it's cold. His music taste is also different because like even though he's black, I like to listen to like very old R&B songs, and he thinks they're depressing and sad because he listens to like rap and trap music. Other than that, I think maybe hair. I used his hair product and I found out that I was actually naturally wavy hair because because he's black, he has curl cream, like curly hair.
Friends, I hadn't planned on making another video right now, but Indian people are coming for me in my comments. And, so I know I'm on the right track with what I'm saying. But what I want to talk about in this specific video is Indian people and anti-Black racism specifically. So whether this is within the country of India, or whether this is when Indian people immigrate to any part of the world, whether it be on the African continent, in North America, South America, wherever, Indian people have, and again, I'm not saying every single Indian person, but I'm talking about Indian people generally, our society, our culture, the belief systems that Indian people hold, etc. Indian people are extremely, extremely racist, especially towards Black people. And if you take a Black person who has been around Indian people for any period of time, Black people pick up on this. It's something that is, this is not a secret. Whether you're talking to, say African students who study in India, which there are African students who are there, or whether you're talking about, say, Kenyans. There's a large population of Kenya that are Indian people that have immigrated to that country, or South Africa, or Canada, or, the United States, whatever. But Black people pick up on Indian people's racism because it is quite apparent. It's something that that is there. It's obvious. So I'm just going to give you an example of me, my family, and the Indian people in South Africa. When I grew up there, I spent the first 12 years of my life under apartheid. So we had servants, maids, cooks, gardeners, etc. And all of these people were Africans. They were Black people. And all of the Indians in South Africa had servants. Okay, they were all Black. Now, how were these servants treated? They were treated as subhuman. They were not considered to be human beings with feelings. They drank out of different cups. So Indian people would not share their table with the servants, who were an integral part of their household. They took care of their children. They drove them everywhere. They cooked for them. But they had to eat off of separate dishes. They could not sit on the furniture. They, say, for example, when we left our home and we traveled, so we lived in Pietermaritzburg, we traveled to Durban on the weekends, holidays, whatever. Our maid would come with us. She was not allowed to sleep on or sit on our furniture or sleep on our furniture, so she had to sleep on the floor. these are things that all Indian people did in South Africa. And now I'm just talking about South Africa. I'm not talking about, say, when Indian people immigrate to other countries. But this is true even in first generation Indians. Because say if an Indian person had to marry a Black person, 9 times out of 10, that Indian person's family is going to completely disown the Indian person who married a Black person. Now, Indian people generally, they want Indian people to marry within their, they want Indian people to marry other Indian people, and then they even go into like, well, they want, the same caste, and they even have subcastes and all of this stuff. So, but if an Indian person marries a white person or say an Asian person, it's not considered to be as heinous of an act as if an Indian person married a Black person. So this can be tied to the caste system because, like I mentioned in my previous video, Indian people are racist towards other Indian people. And some of this is based on skin color. It's not entirely based on skin color, but there is a factor that is, that is apparent in that. So Ava DuVernay made a movie called Origin, and it's based on Isabel Wilkerson's book Caste, which somebody just pointed out. And it's very difficult for me to talk about these very heavy topics in 10 minutes. So I can't cover everything, but Indian people are inherently racist as a culture and as a society. And then within that racism, there is a hierarchy. So yes, while an Indian society might be racist towards Western people, Western culture, white people, etc. Just like Vivek Ramaswamy making that comment about how, he made all these disparaging comments about, Americans. And he was talking about white Americans, how they're not as smart and blah, blah, blah. These are not uncommon things that Indian people say within themselves. I have been privy to these conversations in whether it's, say a friend situation or families or extended families or just in my Indian community. These are very common beliefs that most all Indian people will espouse. They will say things like, well, white people have no culture. Their food is horrible. They just go on and on and on. But when it comes to Black people specifically, Indian people have extremely racist views about Black people. And it doesn't matter how nice this Black person is, how educated they might be. None of those things matter. And that's why I say that a lot of Indian people, they align themselves with a very far right-wing kind of Trump ideology. So you might take somebody from, say, America who is a Trumpster, and they espouse all these very racist views. And you could take an Indian person, and in many respects, those views are going to align because Indian people generally tend to hold very racist views. It goes back to the caste system, yes, but it also ties into other aspects because, as I pointed out before, there are the so-called untouchables in India, and Indian people are racist towards them as well. So this is all a very, these are complicated things, and I'm just trying to do my best to share these ideas because we are in terrible times right now in the United States and in the world generally. So I guess Indian people, if you guys want to come for me, come for me. I am not saying anything that's untrue. This is the truth, and I think it's kind of an open secret.
Guys, I hope you have watched that video till the end, and also you can share your comment on the comment section. Tell me, what do you think about today's topic. And also remember to give a video a thumbs up, and so that YouTube can recommend this video to majority of our fellow black people to know and to see exactly some of the struggle and the challenges they are going through. And also, guys, I have one of the comment from our fellow black person. He has come out and wrote this in the comment section. What typical is how it's so easy for Asian business have no problem taking the money from black people, which is who spend an absorbent amount of money with them. I am happy to know that this young lady has racial intelligence, and now let us have black intelligence and stop spending our hard black earnings with people who hate us. So this guy is saying that it is now time for us black people to stop spending our money to these other races, because in the entire world, I came out to know that we black people will love to support these other races, and that it is true. As black people, we don't love to support our own. You can find out that a black person, he or she can skip her fellow black store to go and have a shopping to the Asian, Chinese or white store. This is how we black people we operate. Instead of promoting ourselves, we love to promote these other races, not but our own races. And we black people, we are the one who wants to see our fellow black person going down. You can imagine when our fellow black person he has opened a shop, we want to make him or her to close that shop, because we will not go there and support our fellow black people. No, we will go and have shopping to other black store. So this guy is telling us that also as black people, we need to have our own intelligent. We know we need to start we need to stop spending our hard black earnings with people who hate us. And yes, guys, we know that these other people, they hate us. I don't want to mention their names. These people, they hate us. One of the things that you guys, you should know that these other races, it is very hard for them to come and shop in our store. Have you ever seen an Indian, Chinese or white people easily going to have a shop in black store? It is very difficult for them to have to do shopping in our stores, but it is very easy for us black people to support them. The only people who support these other races, it is black people. And because of us black people, you can see we are the ones who have made their country to be the one of the first world country. Yeah, it is because of us black. And also I've been telling you that these other races, they cannot live without us black people. These people, they depend so much in us black people. And apart from us black people supporting them and doing all these things to them, these people, they still hate us. You can see how these people, they are talking bad about us black people. So this is an encouragement message from our fellow black person. So he's continuing saying that with the black we were and stop spending our hard black earnings with the people who hate us for absolutely no reason. Even if these people smile as they take our money, they don't deserve it. It is absolutely sad how people would rather be nasty because they want to feel accepted by people who will never accept them. So this now is talking to that Asian lady, because these Asian people, they were hating us because so that they can be accepted with these other races like the white races. So and just remember that nobody on this planet is above anyone. They know it, and teach your children these black people have no need to fit in and have no need to be accepted by people who do the worst things. They think nobody is looking, and what were these people told about people who oppressed you? I'm black, a baby boom, and mixed with Asian DNA. Go figure. I wrote in caps because of poor vision, not because I'm black. So this is one of the comment that I saw in the in that video, and I've decided to write for you because it is really a powerful message that one of our black person she's writing. So this is to tell you that we know that we black people, we are on our own, and it is now the right time for us black people to come together, because I've been talking about black people coming together, black people uniting, because one of the things that it is making us black people to be down and these other races to be on top of us, it is how we black people, we don't love to, we are not united. We black people, we are still being oppressed with these other races because we are not united. And I've been telling you that unity, it is a power. When people that are coming together, these people that are becoming strong, and their voices, it will be heard. You can see how the Indian in the United States, whenever they wanted their voice to be heard, these people, they always come together, and their voices, it is being heard easily. But for black Americans, their voices, it is not easily heard, because these people, they know that black people, they are not united. So because of that, their voices, it is not being heard. So right now we have seen this lady, she is coming out and also exposing some of the things that they have been doing, and how they are apparent also, they have been teaching them to hate us black people. So this is like a lesson, and I've been telling you that this is not a hate. We don't hate any races, and also it start with our parents. Our parents, they need to start teaching the children the good things, the correct thing, not to teach them hating on other races. I know in some of our school, also in some of the white schools there, they usually teach about how they colonized Africa, how they came out and conquer Africa, how they are seeing us as a people, our colors, a bad color, and also we have seen how they have been portraying a bad image of us Africa in their media. And this is some of the teachings that they usually teach their children. And up to date, whenever you are seeing a black kid, it is very hard for them to respect a grown-up black person in the United States. So this tell you that this is some of the challenges and the struggle that the black people that have been going through. And for me, I think it is like a wake-up call to us black people. We need to come together. We need to start spending our money to our stores, our fellow black stores, so that these people also can know that we black people, we are very serious, and we are starting to unite and supporting each other. So thank you so much, guys. Subscribe if you haven't, like this video, share, and also comment. See you in my next one. Bye bye.